Joining us now on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline, our first guest of the day as we transition from football now to NBA basketball is Chris Dempsey, NBA and Denver Nuggets beat writer. Chris, welcome to BYU Sports Nation.
Hi, thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. We want to know, what were the initial intentions of the Denver Nuggets when they decided to sign Jimmer to their summer league team? I know he trains a lot in Denver. Did that have something to do with it?
Yeah, I mean, it did. It's a pretty small basketball community here, and so when professionals are kind of in town and training regularly, that's very easy. It gets around pretty quick, and there's pretty quick ties to the Nuggets organization there. But the other thing is that Jimmer for 40 some odd games played for the coaches that are currently the Nuggets coaches, Michael Malone and Mike Inori, who is the Nuggets summer league coach. They were both in Sacramento when Jimmer was in Sacramento. So, there were ties there as well. So it was a pretty natural fit to have him come on. And, the Nuggets are a team that's looking for more shooting and just kind of wanted to also, not so much that they're even looking for more shooting, but they also wanted to try some new things offensively. And the more shooters they could have on a summer league team to get some of those concepts on the court, the better. And so, and then for Jimmer, it was just a situation where they want to help him. They like Jimmer as a person. They always have. They like him as a player as well. And so if they can kind of help him put himself on display for the rest of the NBA, then they're willing to do that as well.
Nuggets general manager Tim Connolly, during an interview from last night's game, called Jimmer Fredette one of the best shooters in the world and said he just needs an opportunity. What do you read into that? Does that suggest that just maybe Tim and the Nuggets are going to give Jimmer that shot?
Yeah, it'd be very difficult to see that happen in Denver just because of the amount of players already in their backcourt. You're talking about Emmanuel Mudiay and Gary Harris and Jamal Murray and Will Barton and Jameer Nelson and all these guys who are very established and guys who have all played significant roles on the team last season. They're all back. And then obviously Jamal Murray didn't play a significant role on the team last season. He's their draft pick this year, but he will play. So it's, from that standpoint, I don't expect that Jimmer would be on the Nuggets roster in the fall. But what I think he's showing, at least through these first few games, is that he deserves to be on somebody's roster. And just in case anybody forgot, this man can still shoot the ball to a very high degree. In the NBA, even in the short amount of time, it's not been a ton of years since Jimmer was in BYU and coming out into the NBA. But even in that 6-year span, that 5 to 6 year span, we've seen such an uptick in the NBA in terms of the value of shooters, guys who can really fill it up and fill it up from deep. That this is a very good time to be Jimmer Fredette, to be quite honest with you. So if he can put some of that stuff on the court, which he has in these first few games, and then show some other things. One of the things I liked, especially in the first couple of games, was his ability to run the team in pick and roll situations, not just kind of ISO it out and jack up a three. Run a team as well, fight on defense as well, and if he can put some of these things on the court, I have no doubt that he'll be invited to somebody's training camp in the fall.
Chris Dempsey joining us here on BYU Sports Nation. He covers the Denver Nuggets for the Denver Post. And as you mentioned, everybody knows what Jimmer can do, but heading into the summer league, I think there was still, what does he still have left in the tank? Can he keep doing this? When you look at the numbers that he's been putting up in the summer league, do you think he's opened some eyes maybe within the Denver organization or around the league?
Yeah, I do. I think with Jimmer, and so he played 6 games last season, split between 2 teams. I believe it was the Pelicans and the Knicks. And I just think that a couple of things got, kind of lent to his struggles early on. And one, the speed of the NBA was a little overwhelming at times for him. He didn't know when and where his shots were coming, so he took a lot of bad shots or long shots that certainly at that time in the NBA, they're not looking for players to take those kinds of shots. And defensively, he struggled a little bit. And so what I think he's had to do is kind of come to grips with some of the deficiencies in his game, fill those gaps, make sure that he's shored up his game in a way that now when an executive or a coach looks at him and says, okay, I can put this player on the court and trust him on the court. And I think that trust wasn't always there with Jimmer on the court in the past. And so what I think he's, from my view of things, he's showing that he's a player that can be trusted on the basketball court in a number of different ways. Handling the basketball, are you going to be able to, keep possession of the ball through pressure defense, through double teams, these kinds of things. And so the more he puts those kinds of things on the court, the shooting, I think we all know the shooting eventually is going to be there, even if he has a bad shooting day or two. But the rest of these things are the things that are going to get him back in the NBA, and I think he's doing a good job to this point of showing that, hey, I have shored up some of these things in my game.
We're talking with Denver Nuggets beat writer Chris Dempsey on BYU Sports Nation about Jimmer Fredette and his play in the NBA Summer League. We asked the question yesterday, what's the best professional basketball fit for Jimmer Fredette right now, worldwide? I mean, is there a good fit for him in terms of an NBA team right now? Like, if you could put him on any NBA team, which would it be?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I would say, here's how I'll answer that question. I think any team that has a player that demands a double team is a good team for Jimmer Fredette to be on right now. Because I think I think his best situation is if he's the guy that the ball is being kicked out to for the dagger three, or for the or over through the course of the game, he's in the corner standing there catching and shooting. Maybe coming off a screen where the defense is backing into the lane. Maybe paying attention a little bit more to the guy who set that screen, leaving him a little bit more space for shooting. So there's a lot of those kinds of teams in the NBA. But I think the bad fit would be on a basketball team where the defense is kind of spread out over everybody. They're not kind of tilting more toward one player or another. Just kind of keeping everybody out of the lane, putting pressure on every shooter. I don't think that's a good fit for him. I don't, in terms of creating and being the number one guy on a team in the face of these creative, very stingy defenses in the NBA. I don't think that's a great fit, but there are a number of teams that need shooters, that need guys that can really knock down that shot on the perimeter. And then, once you get into that situation, now you can get in and prove that you can do other things, that you can take more of a role within that basketball team as well. And I just think that's where Jimmer needs to be. Be the shooter. Now you get on a team, and then when you're on that team, now show them that you can run a team. Now show them that you can you can be used in a lot of different actions than just maybe kind of that standstill shooter. So, the Atlanta Hawks would be a team that would. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers always are in need of extra shooting. He'd be a very economical piece for them because they're very, very far over the cap.
Chris, what about the Golden State Warriors?
The Golden State, yeah, maybe so. They've lost a couple of guys, and certainly in free agency, and and don't have a lot of money themselves. They're dishing out so many to a few players. That'd be a case. They lost Leandro Barbosa to the Phoenix Suns, so that'd be a place certainly that I think Jimmer could thrive. He would always be on the court with a Kevin Durant or a Steph Curry or a Klay Thompson, and in that system, which is very fast-paced, very driving kick, very the ball's always moving. It's a great system for shooters. That would be a very good fit, I think.
Okay, Chris, we'll finish with this. True or false, Jimmer Fredette will be on an NBA 12-man roster when the season begins?
I think the answer to that will be yes. And, because I think there's no doubt, to me, in my mind, I think he'll definitely be invited to a training camp. And then within that camp, he'll just knock down so many shots that a team will say, you know what? Let's just keep him on the roster and see if we can get him in and start to work him in. And I don't know if he'll finish the season with that same team, the way the NBA kind of goes and the trades and the releasing and all this kind of stuff. But I think he'll be on a roster when the season starts, yes.
Chris, fantastic stuff. We appreciate the time from the Mile High City, man. We look forward to talking to you in the future as Jimmer continues his NBA Summer League play with the Nuggets.
I appreciate the time, guys. We'll talk soon.